we are answering on paragraph 28 under Isoka Town Council, under the Auditor General's report. The first query, during the period under review, empowerment grants in amount totaling 1,953,200 were paid to 111 selected applicants to undertake various projects, such as village banking, goat rearing, and poultry. However, those were the observations of the auditors.
So you come to the cause of query.
Okay.
Without reading
Chair, the cause of the query was that the council paid the amounts totaling 143,961 to 8 empowerment groups that had no accompanying minutes. The action taken by management, Chair, is that management reports that all minutes have been retrieved, copies made and attached to all application forms considered under the particular meeting. Management will ensure that, Chair, before I go to the remedial measure, the action taken is that what happened was that the minutes, some of the WDCs were attaching one copy of minutes to represent all the applications. Instead of each application having a set of minutes, they were doing a cover minute which covered all the applications. And that was what the auditors found, that some of those applications did not have the minutes. However, those minutes have been normalized, and all the applications have been coded the minutes as it is in Appendix 1, Chair. The remedial measure is that management will ensure that the WDCs make copies of minutes and attaches to all applications, as opposed to having one set of minutes covering all applications. I can proceed, Chair?
Yes, please.
Thank you. The next query is that in addition, okay, let me go to the reason for the query.
Yes.
The reason for the query is that amounts totaling 148,961 were paid to 10 groups that had application forms that were not signed by the WDC chairperson. Chair, the action taken is that management reports that application forms are fully signed by the Ward Development Committee's chairpersons, and the minutes are hereby available.
Yes.
Chair, what caused this situation is that...
Council Secretary, what you do is just continue submitting.
Okay.
There will be time when you will be making those clarifications.
All right.
So we go to the remedial measure.
Okay. The next query, Chair.
No, remedial measure.
Remedial measure, management will ensure that all application forms are fully signed before consideration by the CDF committee. The next query, the cause for the query was that 808,200 was paid to 38 groups that had application forms which were not signed by the CDF committee chairperson. Action taken, Chair, is that management reports that all the 38 application forms for approved projects have been fully signed by the CDF committee chairperson. The see Appendix 3, which refers to this query. The remedial measure is that our management will ensure that all application forms are fully signed by the CDF committee chairpersons upon approval of the projects. The next query, Chair, is that during the period under, okay, I'll go straight to the reason for the query. Here we are cited of missing application forms amounting to 120,000 kwacha to 8 groups. As empowerment grants were not availed for audit. These application forms, Chair, were not availed for audit for 8 groups. Action taken. The management wishes to report that all application forms have been retrieved and made available for verification. Management will ensure that all application forms are filed properly. Further, management wishes to report that filing cabinets have been procured to secure the application forms and all other constituency development fund documentation. The next query, Chair, on page 3 is that questionable WDC chairperson signatures. The cause of the query was that 14 applications totaling 279,239 had unmatching signatures bearing the same name of the chairperson, rendering the empowerment applications questionable. The action taken, Chair, is that management wishes to report.
That's a contribution. The CS is skipping some of the words that are in his document. Is it not? Is it that he doesn't want the other words produced, like
Which one? Which one?
management wishes to acknowledge that 14 applications, what, and so on. He's just skipping to issues that he feels are imperative or what?
All right. CS, be guided as such.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Proceed.
Thank you, Chair, for the guidance. Action taken is that management wishes to report that a letter was written to the WDC committee chairperson whose signature was inconsistent to confirm the signatures on the application forms. See Appendix 5A. The chairperson acknowledged that the signatures as his in a response letter, which is on Appendix 5B. The remedial measure, management wishes to report that through the assistance from local impact governance project, through this assistance, we have continued orienting ward development committees with their roles and responsibilities. The chairperson has been encouraged to retain one signature or no official documentation. The next query, Chair, is that on poor handling of unsuccessful applications. Guideline. Okay, I'll go straight to the query. Management wishes to acknowledge that Council did not provide written feedback to the unsuccessful applicants, stating reasons for the rejection. Action taken, the management wishes to indicate that all unsuccessful applicants have been communicated to and letters are available for verification. See Appendix 6. The remedial measure is that the local authority will ensure that all unsuccessful applicants are communicated to in writing as prescribed by the guidelines. The next query, Chair, is on soft loans, failure to disburse these soft loans. Guideline sorry, Chair, I skipped to cause of the query. Management wishes to acknowledge that as at 31st October 2023, the Council had not spent the funds transferred for revolving loans. Action taken, management wishes to state that an amount of 2,706,198 has been disbursed as soft loans to 63 beneficiaries, as seen on Appendix 7A. Further, the revolving account accrues an interest of 3% per annum, as in Appendix 7B. The remedial measure for that query, management wishes to state that the approval processes for loan disbursement, sorry, Chair, for loan disbursement commenced even before the year end for the coming year, so as to expedite the disbursement. Currently, the Council has already submitted 2024 shortlisted applicants to the Office of the Provincial Local Government Officer for approval. The next query, Chair, is that the reason for the next query is that management wishes to acknowledge that it had not been informed by the bank, which is Atlas Mara, as to what rate of interest the revolving funds were to gain. The action taken for this is that the management wishes to report that an agreement form stating the interest rate and service level with the bank has been obtained and attached on Appendix 8. As at September 4th, 2023, an amount of 49,868 was received as interest, which is evidence is on Appendix 7B. Chair, the remedial measure is that management will ensure that the interest accrued is received at the stated time, because the bank has assured us of that. The next query, Chair, is that the cause of the next query is that management wishes to acknowledge that agreement with a bank as an established disbursing institution for the revolving fund was not provided during the time of audit. Action taken, the management wishes to state that the agreement between the bank and the council has since been obtained and is available for verification under Appendix 8. The remedial measure is that management wishes to state that we will ensure all agreements and guidelines are made available. The next query is on bursaries, which is secondary boarding and skills development. A total of 220 pupils, oh sorry, let me go straight. The cause of the query is that management wishes to acknowledge that audit findings that as of March 2023, the physical presence of the learners could not be established, making it difficult to ascertain their existence. Action taken, Chair, is that management wishes to state that the school management has written a letter confirming that the 4 pupils cited were in school for that academic year. See Appendix 9. Remedial measure, the management will ensure that all pupils under CDF sponsorship are made available for audit verification when called upon. The next query, Chair, is that the local authority wishes to state that documentation revealed that students undertaking the program were not on the approved list for sponsorship by the council, involving 9 students, with amounts totaling 73,812. Action taken is that management wishes to state that the 9 students cited in the audit report are on the list of approved beneficiaries. The list is availed for verification under Appendix 10. Remedial measure, the management will continue to ensure that only approved beneficiaries are cited for sponsorship, are paid for. The next query is that management wishes to state that at the time of the audit, the school did not have, sorry, Chair. The next query, it's a new query. The management wishes to state that at the time of the audit, the school did not have water, and students who were not in exam classes were asked to stay away. The 41 students cited were among the students that were sent away. The action taken by management is that management wishes to report that the college management has written a letter confirming that all the students were present during the academic year under review. See Appendix 11. Remedial measure, the management wishes to state that we will continue to ensure that only approved beneficiaries are paid for and availed for physical verification. I go on, Chair, on cross-cutting issues. These issues which are bordering on different councils, community projects, budget performance. Management wishes to acknowledge that at the time of the audit, an amount totaling 21,478,257 was not spent. Action taken, Chair, is that management wishes to state that as at 30th November 2023, amounts totaling 23,592,455.84 kwacha has been spent on all constituents development fund components as shown on the ledger on Appendix 12A. Further, the bank statement shows paid out amount as at 30th November 2023. See Appendix 12B. The remedial measure is that management wishes to report that in order to improve the rate at which funds are spent, this will be achieved by early advertising of all constituents development fund components. We can report that, Chair, as a correction there, that the bursary components, not all components, the bursary components for the 2024 allocation have been concluded and submitted to the provincial local government officer for final approval and implementation. The next query, Chair, failure to spend. These are community projects. Management wishes to acknowledge that at the time of audit, 11,938,162 was not spent on the approved projects. The action taken is management wishes to state that a total of 11,036,351 has been paid towards the projects as seen on Appendix 12B and Appendix 12C. Remedial measure, management has already commenced the approval process of all constituency development fund components before the receipt of the funds for 2024. This will ensure that funds are spent the moment they are received by the council. The next query, failure to monitor empowerment projects. Management wishes to state that contrary to the provision, the auditor observed that Isoka Town Council did not carry out effective monitoring of the implementation of projects despite the availability of funds meant for monitoring. Action taken is that management wishes to state that monitoring activities for grant beneficiaries are being undertaken and reports produced regularly as attached on Appendix 8. Remedial measure is that management wishes to state that monitoring activities have intensified with the availability of the monitoring vehicle. The next query on the misapplication of funds. Management wishes to state that 8 groups misapplied funds amounting to 120,000 by implementing unapproved projects without securing the approval of the council, thereby breaching the terms of the grant agreement. Action taken. Management wishes to state that groups that diverted from the original approved project were written to and asked them to explain why they diverted without authority from the council, as seen on Appendix 14. Remedial measure. Management wishes to state that all beneficiaries whose projects have been approved are being oriented on financial management and implementation of approved projects with the help of local impact governance project. Further, management will ensure that all monitoring activities are done regularly to deter any deviation from without authority. The next query is on unaccounted for funds. Management wishes to acknowledge the findings of the auditor on unaccounted for funds for 29 clubs and cooperatives amounting to 183,831. Management wishes to state that demand letters have been written to beneficiaries groups that have not accounted for the grant to produce expenditure records for the projects or pay back the funds. And these groups have even acknowledged receipt of the demand letters as seen on Appendix 15. Remedial measure, management wishes to state that all beneficiaries whose projects have been approved are being oriented on financial management and implementation of approved projects with the help of local impact project. Further, management will ensure monitoring activities are regular to deter any further misapplication. The following query is on questionable disbursement of empowerment funds to unregistered clubs. The local authority wishes to acknowledge the observation by the Auditor General on a questionable disbursement of empowerment funds to 79 clubs and cooperatives to unregistered clubs without NRCs, amounting to 1,378,200. Action taken. Management wishes to state that all the national registration cards that were missing from the applications were retrieved and attached to the application forms as seen on Appendix 16. Remedial measure: management to ensure that all the applications are duly completed, filed properly. Further, management wishes to report that filing cabinets have been procured to secure all the application forms and all the other CDF documentation. The next query, Chair, on page 13, the first query, management wishes to state it's under, okay, no. Management wishes to state that the reason for the query is that management states that registration certificates for 81 beneficiary groups were not availed to the auditor as they were misfiled in other applications. Action taken: management wishes to state that all club registration certificates have since been attached to the correct application forms as seen on Appendix 17. Remedial measure: management will ensure that all application forms are duly completed and filed properly. Further, management wishes to report that filing cabinets have been procured to secure the application forms and all other CDF documentation. Chair, the next query is under on failure to produce monitoring reports. Management wishes to state that the WDC, the World Development Committee, the World Development and Empowerment Committee, have not been have not been undertaking monitoring of the projects. That was the cause of the query, as queried by the auditors. Action taken: management wishes to state that the World Development and Empowerment Committee have been undertaking monitoring of the projects. The monitoring reports are available for verification on Appendix 18. The remedial measure is that management wishes to state that reporting tools have been provided to the World Development and Empowerment Committee to carry out monitoring activities and produce reports. Chair, misappropriation of funds by clubs. This refers to management wishes to acknowledge the findings of the auditor that funds were spent without expenditure records. Action taken: management wishes to, this involves 64 groups. Management wishes to state that demand letters have been written to beneficiary groups that have not accounted for the grant to produce expenditure records for the projects or pay back the funds. As attached on 15, these groups have been written to and they have acknowledged the receipt of the letters. Remedial measure: management wishes to state that all beneficiaries whose applications have been approved are being oriented on financial management and implementation of projects. The next query is on secondary and secondary boarding and skills development. Management wishes to report that the 89 students cited in the audit report had reported for school, because the query was that these were not accounted for, these students. Management wishes to report that the students cited in the audit report had reported for school and started learning. But when they learned that the bursary did not include accommodation and meals, they withdrew because they could not afford. Management wishes to report, as action taken, management wishes to report that following guidance from the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development to pay for other school requirements, the council had paid for the 89 students and they have since returned back to school. Attendance registers from the school are available on page, that is page 19, Appendix 19. Remedial measure: management wishes to state that with the inclusion of other school requirements in the sponsorship, students are now in school. Further, management has intensified monitoring of all beneficiaries. Unspent funds, as the next request, Chair, reason for the query: management wishes to state that the council only spent 386,783 on bursaries as at December 31st December 2022. This was as a result of few applications received for sponsorship. All the students and pupils that applied and met minimum requirements were paid for. Action taken, management wishes to state that the unspent funds as at 31st December 2022 were used to pay for new applicants. We sought permission from PROGO to pay for new applicants in 2023 for the remaining funds, as is seen on Appendix 20. However, only 2,331,210 has been spent due to poor response from the community. See Appendix 7B. The balance amounting to 1,785,807 has been, with the permission of the ministry, diverted to funding of community development, projects. The remedial measure is that management wishes to state that publicity and community engagements have intensified with a weekly radio program on the community radio station, ISO radio. This has seen an increase in the 2024 applications. Chair, that was my last query.
Thank you very much, Council Secretary. I'll now invite questions, points of clarifications. Honorable Kamondo, Honorable Semumba.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, and would like to thank the Council for taking us through this. I have 2 points of clarifications. The first one is second query.
You're on page what?
On page, I'm sure this should be page 2. Page 2. The query was, in addition, amounts totaling to 148,961 were paid to 10 groups that applied, that had applications that were not signed by the Ward Development Committee chairpersons. And we have been told that management reports that all application forms were fully signed by the Ward Development Committee chairpersons and are available for verification according to Appendix 2. The first question that maybe I would like to find out is, first of all, what motivated you to pay the 10 groups that had applications not signed? What is it that motivated you? Now, on the same question, when I looked at the appendix which is being referred to, maybe I'll take you to the verifications that were being done. I think this is Appendix 3, if I'm not mistaken, just to give you, yes, Appendix 2, but now I wanted to give you a scenario because I'm also going to intertwine with the second query. Which comes first? Is it the application being done and the Ward Development Committee chairperson signing later, or the Ward Development chairperson signs first and then the members sign at last? Which is actually on Appendix 3. There is this, I think, Appendix 3, page where we have names like S. Mwanza on the other side, first applicant, and on the other side there's E. Kabinga. The applications were signed by the applicants on 25th April 2022. But they were signed on the 19th of April 2022. So I wanted also just to get a point of clarification. What could have happened That is number one. Number two, the query which is there is that further amounts totaling to 808,200 were paid to 38 groups that had applications forms which were not signed by the Constituent Development Fund Committee chairperson. Now, how can you just try to clarify why could we have such a scenario where you go ahead to pay for groups that the chairperson could not even sign? Does it mean that they passed it through the CDF committee, or someone else brought them after the CDF committee had already decided? Because in every scenario, after you sit as CDF committee, you compile the list. The CDF chairperson is supposed to sign there and then. Now, it looks like after they had compiled the first list, then another list was compiled, which had no signatures for the CDF committee chairperson, and another one also on the same vein. Why is it? Who is your CDF committee chairperson? From my reading here, it shows Mr. Gondwe Kisness, it looks like. Why is it that whenever he signs, there is no date attached to that form? Thank you.
I think it's a loaded question, so I'll allow the Council Secretary to react.
The first question on what motivated us to pay the 10 groups. This one, we apologize, we couldn't attach minutes. The committee resolved there because there were groups which did not have, which had application forms that were not signed by the chairperson for the WDC. But the CDF committee in that meeting resolved that they can proceed with the meeting, and then in principle they resolved, and then they will be made to sign later on. That was the resolution, Chair, which is even noted in the minutes of the CDF committee, which they resolved to proceed, because at that time, Chair, that was when CDF was, we were just implementing the first batch, and there was that pressure to do the implementation fast. So despite the advice, they resolved that they can proceed, and then they can be made to sign later on the WDC, which we have now done and corrected. But during the time of the audit, this was not yet done. Then on the other one, for the CDF chairperson, Chair, this one, the query on 38 groups, the total number of groups was 111. She signed on the 73. But unfortunately, during this time, there is a room where we keep all the CDF files. We wanted to install new shelves. I think during that time we are doing the rehabilitation. On removing the documents, we misplaced some of them, but later on we discovered these documents, and we corrected them, and she signed. On the issue of her not putting the dates, Chair, I'm not in a position to talk on that.
Okay, thank you. Is it a follow-up? Yes, please. You as well. Okay.
On the appendix 2, you have not answered that query.
Okay.
There is this form, which I gave the names, where there is, that is appendix 2, I think. almost, I think it should be the last, yeah, where we have S. Mwanza, who signed on the 25th of April 2022, and E. Kavinga, who is supposed to be, I don't know whether, Honorable Chairperson, you are with me on this page.
On appendix number 3?
Number 2.
Number 2.
It's a number 2.
Yes.
Attachments.
Yes, the
If
last
the
one.
Honorable can just guide us
Which
to
one? The
go
last
through
one
to
on
the
the
sub.
two.
Yeah, the last form, not the last, second from last, I think, which has these names. Kindly come near that.
What are the names?
I think the names are this one, sir. Where there is
S. Mwanza, E. Kavinga.
yes,
The name of the group,
and then
12 Women Club.
sorry. That can
12.
yeah, the one which is next to the one which I've just before that one, Honorable Chairperson. Not that one. Before the one which is yes, the one which you are holding.
yeah.
That's right.
12, eh?
Yes, but you go to the next is right there.
The next one, this one.
Yes, this one, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
But the name here is what?
The names are S.
The man-
Mwanza, first applicant.
It's Mwanza here. Yes, yes.
You've found it?
It's Mwanza.
Yes, S. Mwanza and the E. Kavinga.
Oh, yeah.
So, through your Honorable Chairperson.
It's Mwanza Alex and the Kavinga Emelda.
Yes. Through you, Chairperson, I just want to have some comfort. These are the documents which are being referred to. And for me, I'm not very comfortable to admit this document because when you look at the date when these actually applications were made on the 25th of April. But the chairperson designed the area before the application was being made on the 19th of April.
What is that?
The same, sir.
On the same page?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I
Just
see.
down.
Okay, I've seen it.
Yes, so I just want to have some comfort. And if you look down on the same page, which is the question which I asked, which has not been answered, where someone just signs, but he leaves deliberately the date when he signed. Who is, of course, I presume that this is the...
It's the city of chairperson.
Yes. Just want to have a comfort on me.
So from this scenario, Council Secretary, it's like the chairperson came to sign before the owners of the cooperative came. Maybe that's the reason as to why he didn't put the date. The date was to be put when the owners when they came on the 25th of the same month.
Chair, on that one, maybe I can invite my planner to say something.
Yes.
You can.
Planner, help us.
Thank you, Chair. So, for this group, 12 the Tom Singoi, this is the WDC chairperson who signed on this particular form. So, the applicants made the application on the 25th. The reason why he might have signed before, he might have signed after, it was after the application came to the WDC, and they might have noticed that the applicants had not signed on it, so they took it back to the applicants to sign afterwards.
Yeah, but what is convincing here, my understanding is that these people might not be staying within that place. So that Sindoi Singoi, Tom Singoi, could have come to the local authority, and he was maybe, I'm just trying to think around. Maybe he stays very far. Then he says, all those approved cooperatives, let me sign their forms. So he signs the forms before they come. When these people come, they because he signed before the owners of the cooperative. And this is the reason as to why my line of thinking here is that he feared that the date that, although he was supposed to put the date when he signed, but he maybe wanted the date that these people came. The owners of the cooperative, that's the date that was supposed to be put, because at that time they would have owned this application form. But that is just my assumption. You can give us the answers. Honorable Shagafuswa, you seem to know better.
When the chairman is giving an assumption, we are also thinking loudly.
Exactly.
And my thinking is this. I'm looking at the period vis-a-vis the response given by the town clerk.
The council secretary?
The council secretary. The meetings were undertaken in April 2022. The audit was done in July 2023. March 2023. That is fine. A resolution made by the WDC and the CDF committee that they will sign after approval. The time frame from April 2022 to March 2023. You can see the length of period. So why didn't we avail these signed minutes to the auditors when they requested for them at that time? I want to agree with you. Yes, because we have pressure. This is April 2022. Please approve. I'll come and sign. Then we go to March 2023. Are you telling us that by March 2023, the CDF chairperson and the ward chairperson had not signed on these minutes? Tell us the truth.
Honorable Nyambose, on the same, I believe.
Chair, this report, Chair, the Council Secretary's submission, where he says they could just go ahead, even include those who were not part of the meeting to be approved, then approval comes later. Chair, to me, as my colleagues have done, it has given me a question. What type of management are you running that could tolerate these anomalies? Where you are even comfortable telling this committee and the nation, say, no, actually we said even those who are not there, let us just go ahead, approve, even if they were not part of the meeting. The comfort that the council secretary has is very dangerous, Chairperson.
Honorable Simumba.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, what I know, what makes the documents to be approved, one of them are signatures. So I would want to find out how can they approve something that the requirement for that approval is a signature. Chair, I'm getting a bit worried because when you look at what is happening on the same page that the Honorable has stated, on page 2, you find that even the WDC never signed. After they have approved, after they have paid, in fact, they pay without the committee chairperson's signature. I don't know where they were basing the payment on, because where you should base the payment is on that signature from the WDC chairman. They paid, I don't know who made them pay that, and again, Chair, you find that also, even when there is missing applications, they will pay. Chair, even when there is a questionable signature for the WDC, they will pay. And then they will tell the WDC that when you look at Appendix 5A, they will just write a letter to the WDC telling him to say, it was discovered that the signatures found on the forms were not consistent. The council therefore is requesting you to acknowledge in writing that those signatures belong to you. It's like they are just telling that particular person to say, just acknowledge, without questioning why the signatures are inconsistent. I submit, Chair.
I hear you, honorable members, and based on his submission, if I got him very well and correct, he was saying at some point they were under pressure, those people, not the council itself, but I think the decision came according to his submission, and which I want him to clarify, is that they are also not, as management, not comfortable, but the CDF said no, they will come and sign. So the decision to go ahead with these blank things was coming from I want him to clarify on that. The management is like, the CDF said, we need to use this money. So we need to disperse it, but without signed documentation. But CDF said no, they will come and sign, but we are approving, we are going ahead and approve all these people so that they are paid. Council Secretary, kindly.
Before he comes in, when you say that they have approved before signing, is that approval? What is defined by approval? And do we have internal audit system in SOCA? Because, Chair, if you go item by item, I think we are on record here. This is a bad report. Unregistered 81 unregistered clubs, and one of them at Appendix 17, they are saying 81 clubs without certificates, but only attached 3 certificates here. We have read this report, Chair. Now, when they say we shall come and approve, can you pay? What was the basis, Chair? I'm with you,
yes,
Chair.
Yes, so
that's a question that we want to.
That's what we want to get from, because not the decision where we are looking at the decision to spend this money, the decision to start paying these clubs. Where is it coming from? What did management base their decision to sanction that? Council Secretary.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, the setup of a CDF committee, I can sit there as a principal officer, but I'm not a member. I'm just invited. I don't have the power to vote. But sometimes we advise, but they vote to make certain decisions. So what we are saying, it's not all the applications which did not have signatures. They discovered as they were starting the meeting, admitting the applications, they discovered that 10 of those had no signatures. So I remember clearly in that meeting, we advised that we remove these, but they resolved to say, no, we admit them, we consider them, and then immediately we can approve them in principle. Then immediately you can make them, you can normalize the signatures, because all the other attachments and documentations were there. So that's the basis, Chair, under which they approved, and the minutes are there to
react.
Yes, on the same issue of signatures, Chair, let's go to page 3.
Page 3.
The query there is the questionable WDC chairperson signatures. The council paid money totaling 279, 239 kwacha to 14 empowerment various groups during the period. and upon scrutiny of the documents by the auditors, they found that the chairperson had unmatching signatures on the documents that were availed. I have had sight of appendix VA, where the council wrote to this chairman to confirm if he's the one that signed. And the response there acknowledges that it's him, but it does not give us evidence. For this committee, you could have even brought his NRC to show that indeed this signature is similar to him, so that we remove the benefit of doubt as a committee. You can see we're dealing with the other WDC, CDF, we're talking about signature. And here, again, it's captured that one person is signing differently. CS, as the chief executive for the local authority, I believe you have one signature. And if you signed differently, even the bank will not pass your commitment.
Thank you. Honorable members, one thing I'm realizing is that this particular submission was quite long, so we are seriously running out of time. I want to suggest that the Auditor General's office goes back to verify on this and get us the facts so that we can progress. Get us the facts as to why signatures were different, why there was maybe you go to the office to the local authority and invite even the chairperson for both for CDF and the WDC to verify these things, and we put the record straight. So I would suggest that honorable members, we only have about 20 minutes before 13 hours. So yes, I'm not stopping you from commenting,
Chair.
but
As you have observed, this entire report, I think even the entire committee will agree, this is a very bad report. Very, very bad report. In the sense that, Chair, all the items highlighted by the auditors have got questionable responses. Lack of seriousness on the part of the CS. The CS is an ex-official. The treasurer sits there as an ex-official also, but there are planners there. How do you go ahead, Chair, without certain clubs being or groups being presented in that particular meeting? You just say, no, let's agree in principle. Where are the minutes for that particular decision to say we should have come up with minutes? Under minutes, so we agreed in principle that the following clubs be admitted, then the authentication will come later. And you see, Chair, when we become comfortable with such queries, monies are being misappropriated. It's quite bad. I agree with your decision that Auditor General should go back. But this is, for me, the motivation, Chair.
Auditor General, you are getting his submission.
The motivation, Chair. The motivation that I just wanted, if at all the Local Government Service Commission was sitting with us, I think they could have seen. And when people question that these public resources are in the hands of people who can administer properly, this CDF in Isoka, I doubt if it is being utilized properly.
No, thank you for your submission. I think that one has been adequately taken care of by the Auditor General's office. That's we really want to get a very good report out of it so that we assist our secretariat.
We'll do that, Chair.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you so much, Chair.
It's a different question.
Yes, a different question. You have already closed that chapter, no, sir?
Please go ahead.
Thank you. I would like to lead you, CS, to page 11.
Page 11.
Page 11, yes, on misapplication of funds implementation of unapproved projects. Yes, there you can see the misapplication of funds amounting to 120,000 kwacha. What led to the misapplication of the 120,000 kwacha?
Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, what led to the misapplication is that these groups, they implemented projects which we did not approve as a CDF committee, which were not approved by the CDF committee. Instead, maybe I'll give an example. Instead of maybe implementing a poultry project, people would implement maybe a village banking project. So that's what we meant by, was meant by that. That's what caused the misapplication.
Honorable Nyambose, Honorable Simumba.
Council Secretary, on the same, the letter reprimanding or that you wrote to these clubs, eight groups, was only written 5th June 2023. What took you so long when you realized that these clubs had undertaken projects which were not approved? You had to wait for the auditors. After the audit process, then you were about to come to this committee. That's when you wrote on 5th June 2023. Why?
Just in addition, we could hear something maybe from the planning department in terms of monitoring. Please go ahead and respond, Council Secretary.
Chair, I invite the DPO to come.
Thank you, Chair. You can there's an appendix which has the management report on the same groups.
Which
let me just find the appendix. Let me just find the appendix, one moment. 14. Yes.
14.
Yes. So during that during the monitoring, when we were interacting with the groups, we found that most of them, the reason they were giving for changing projects was the amount they initially applied for was less than the amount which they were eventually approved. And because of that, they ended up changing the particular projects.
Yes, but the question from the honorable member is, it appears you took long to react or to go and see whatever these people are doing.
Moreover, Chair, the DPO started saying that there is a management report. We have opened Appendix 14. Which management report?
Sorry, not management report. I made a mistake, but a monitoring
I'm
report.
just quoting you. The Appendix 14, is it 13? 13. But this question refers us to Appendix
It's application
14.
of funds.
14. And the Appendix 14, Chair, are just misapplication of funds letters which were written in June by the Council Secretary 2023.
It's Appendix 13.
13.
That's where the report is. And I misspoke. It's not management report, but rather just a report on the monitoring activities which were undertaken.
That is 13, right? Monitoring report.
Now, why did you take long for you to write those letters? And what action do you want to take on these people who misapplied these funds?
I think on just in addition, the ideal situation should be you pay this month. You give them 2 months or so. You should go and see how they are settling. You would have seen there and then that, oh, these people they are doing different projects altogether. You would have discovered. So the worry that is coming to the committee is that you took long, and in some cases, even if that money wasn't like one reason you are giving, that you went there, people are saying the money we got is not enough for this project, which they applied themselves. But at that time, if you went maybe a month after giving them the money, just when they are settling in, you would have advised them adequately to say, no, I think even if you are not doing this, you are going to do this. And at that time, even documentation would have changed. The worry is the period that you took to react to this.
If you look at the same report the DPO is referring us to, it's dated 14th September 2022, I presume. This is after the audit, is it? Audit was when?
March 2020.
Oh, this was 2022?
Yes.
Okay, correct.
Honorable Sumumba, you wanted to say something there?
Another question?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Oh, what's your position?
Yeah, I wanted to look to answer
Your
on the
position,
issue
sir?
of
Your
Assistant
position?
Internal Auditor.
So that they, okay.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I wanted to address the question of why the management could have taken too long to write those demand letters. I wish to say that on 14th September 2022, a monitoring exercise was done. And during the monitoring exercise, it was discovered that some cooperatives had misappropriated and misapplied the resources. Now, when you refer to the CDFs, to the guidelines of CDF, it doesn't categorically bring out what the council needs to do in an event when an individual has actually misapplied, apart from maybe referring to the Public Financial Management Act. The CDFC guideline does not actually categorically indicate to say when somebody has misapplied the money, this is what we are supposed to do. So now, these people, when we were doing the monitoring exercise, they were actually advised. I was part of the monitoring team. So we were actually advising these groups to, number one, we told them that they needed to, those that are misapplied, they needed to seek approval from the council. Now that they had, water had already been spent, so we told them to say, you can write to the council, providing the minutes in which you agreed that we undertake a different project because of insufficient resources that was allocated to them. So there was that time frame. But then after again doing monitoring activities, that is after now the auditors have passed to the council, we saw it now necessary that now we write those demand letters because these people had not complied on issues of reverting back to their original intended purpose in terms of expenditure.
Honorable members, before I invite the ministry to respond to their, before you even come in, internal auditor, first and foremost, I wanted to know when this money was given to these people and up to September, what was the duration in between?
The duration in between, if my memory serves me right, I think this the first group were given in, it should have been in April, and the time when we were doing the monitoring exercise was in September.
So from April to September, was that time okay with you?
Looking at the time.
I'm asking, was that okay or not?
Between April and September?
And September, yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to now respond to the same.
No, because you know what you are trying to see is that if we had an early intervention, these people wouldn't have maybe wasted the money in there. So I'm asking you, if you let somebody to go away from April up to September, would you blame that person for the decision he has made or she has made?
Well,
okay, I'll leave you there. Minister of Local Government, Ministry, help us.
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity.
Yes.
I take cognizance of the counsel that you have given, together with the honorable members of your committee. My encouragement to Isoka and appropriately the officer that was submitting just before I came in, let's take time to read the guidelines. The guidelines are very, very adequate. They are very, very instructive of what should be done. And in this instance, as the technocrats, we are the technical authorities to these WDCs and CDFCs. So if we don't adequately understand the guidelines, then you mislead so many people in the process. In an event that a cooperative or a club has applied and they are changing, there is a provision to indicate that they are not going ahead for ABCD reasons and what next should be done. I think the counsel that has been given, the monitoring and evaluation were not timely done and adequately done. It's evident in the absence of signatures in all those application forms and indeed from the appropriate committees. So through ISOCA Chair, I wish to submit that all other councils, it's required on us to take CDF not as a by the way, but an integral part of the business of the council, because on the flip side of things, that's how we are going to achieve the development in our respective districts. So I thought I could make that submission, Chair. That's the position of the ministry, and will not be distracted from that. I submit. Thank you.
Honorable Nyambosa, Honorable...
Thank you, Chair. I just want to pick it up. I'm happy that the ministry has mentioned some.
Simumba and then Honorable...
Chair, listening to the internal auditor, I'm very encouraged that if this knowledge that he has just shared with this committee about the monitoring, he could also devote that knowledge to him passing payments which had no supporting documents. This is my motivation. Because, Chair, you asked a very critical question. From April, when the funds were disbursed, they could only go for monitoring in September. I would like to ask the Council Secretary, what do you use the money that is administrative expense that is under CDF for? And are you able to show this committee that from April to September, you had not spent any money other than for the sitting of the CDF on any monitoring? Because this is a serious lapse, and you are getting cover that because the CDF guidelines or act does not show any action to anyone who misapplies the money, you are the ones who are speaking like that. What more the people who are recipients who are out there? You are motivating them to misapply resources which are meant for good use. You officers. So I'm motivated, Chair. Why has it taken you long? And can we ask the auditors to come and check on the expenses that you had as a council from April when these cooperatives were until September, that you never used any monies for monitoring other than that of September, that you allowed these people to go ahead and do projects which were not approved. Internal audit system is very critical, Chairperson, to this CDF. And if the internal auditors are allowing payments which are not in line with the guidelines, then we have a problem, not only to CDF, but to the resources that councils are managing. I submit, Chair.
Thank you very much. Maybe we allow the town clerk, the council secretary to say something on this.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, the monitoring, I think our council does a lot of monitoring of CDF projects. There are two types of reports which are generated. There are quarterly reports, and there are also those, we have a template of in tabular form, which is done almost every other week to different places. This period under review, Chair, it's when the CDF was almost, I can say, the expanded CDF was starting. So there were these challenges, which I can assure you, Chair, right now, we'll even be surprised to see this, because there has been improvements and we have put everything in place. We are talking of this time because there were a lot of challenges when we are starting. Right now we have a monitoring vehicle. It's very busy with these monitoring visits. Monitoring is done regularly, Chair. I can assure this committee, and the reports are there for inspection. The administrative cost has helped us with monitoring. We monitor these projects almost every time, almost every other week. We are doing these monitoring activities. So I wanted to assure the committee of that in terms of monitoring.
Honorable Simumba and Honorable Shakafuswa.
Chair,
Honorable Mwene.
for me, I'll take you to page 12.
Page 12.
Questionable disinvestment of empowerment funds to unregistered clubs. Chair, to the tune of 1,378,200. Chair, these clubs, they didn't have certificate. These clubs, they didn't have required NRCs. I wanted to find out from the council secretary, was it again a collective argument from the CDF committee that again you can pay cooperatives that don't exist? Chair, I submit.
Thank you. Honorable Shakafuswa.
Chair, I'm glad that there are improvements in Isoka. If I quickly draw you to page 15, there are unspent funds for secondary school bursaries and skills development. And as of to date, it is reported that they have 1.7 million kwacha, which will go towards funding for community projects. Are you able to give us evidence of the approval letter for this deviation of funding, and also a list of community projects that will be funded using this 1.7?
Thank you. Before you respond, Honorable Mwene.
Thank you so much, Chair.
Shakafuswa can switch off your mic. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chair. Just to augment Honorable Simumba's question, CSA, a lot of anomalies from your council have emanated, like the one that has just been raised by disbursing funds to clubs and cooperatives that are not registered, is other documents unsigned. You keep on giving, you give in principle. We don't even know what that principle is because it has not been stated clearly here. CS, do you have an invisible political hand that instructs you just to give them, even if they haven't brought the documents, just to give them, even if they have not been signed? Do you have such an invisible political hand?
Thank you. CS, you have 3 questions.
Thank you, Chair. I'll start with the last question. I don't think there is any political hand which influences these decisions, Chair. The fact is that when the CDF committee meets, we advise. We are there actually to advise, but we can't overrule when they make certain decisions. We are just there to put those decisions on the record. That's what I'm saying. The minutes are there when they resolved that, okay, we do this, and you do the signing later.
And
so
just there, Council Secretary, I think you need that when they are changing from, or when they are not heeding to your advice, you need to capture that in your minutes, and that should be put on your report, so that members would not say, but why did you do this? You must be able to say, no, we actually advised. You can check on this on our minutes. We advised on that. I think that would be good it will be a good thing to do, because it will protect you. As we sit here, the blame square lies on you as officers, because we don't have a record that actually you advise. We don't have the minutes. Please continue.
Thank you, Chair. We will submit the minutes for the same. It was just an oversight. We couldn't attach, but we asked people at the office to send us the minutes. On page 12 and 13, Chair, where it was questioned on the questionable disbursement. Chair, this one, it wasn't, it was just a matter of misplacing these forms, which were recovered later and were attached. Both the certificates were recovered, the attachments, and also the NRCs, which have been even attached here. So it wasn't a matter of doing it later, but during the time the auditors came, with the same rehabilitation of the file room I was mentioning about, it affected a lot of things in terms of CDF, because we misplaced, not misplacing really, when we removed the documents and put in new shelves. On returning the documents, we found that some of them were not in the order we put them. But later on, when we took time, we recovered those and they were attached. So that one is on us that we misplaced the documents, Chair. It wasn't a matter of people did not submit.
Small one, not the same. How do you put documents? Here is a box file. It has come from Isoka. Then out of these, then justify if they go missing, some are found. How do you file them? That some could be found, some were missing. Thank you, Chair.
Yes.
Chair, maybe I'm sure when the rehabilitation was going on, actually, it's me who was even actually telling, we just removed the documents in a certain order. But on putting them back, it's another group which did that. And that's where the confusion was. It was really difficult to recover some of these documents, but thank God we recovered most of them, if not all of them, and we attached. So on that one, Honorable, it was just one of those things which happened. We misplaced, but we recovered them. The non-unspent funds, Chair. What I want to submit also is that, you know, with CDF, the accounts are never the same almost every month. You find that you spend maybe 5 million this month, the ministry maybe sends 10 million the next month. So when you look at unspent funds, you find that maybe the time the auditors came, that's when we were starting most of the projects. Because that was early in 2023. CDF was approved late in 2022. So most of those funds by that time, we just paid 25% and all those small payments to the contractors and other people. So you find that at that time the auditors came, there were a lot of unspent funds, but later on we are still spending. So it's never the same. It changes. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As we
Chair, just the last one. Just
yes, sir. No problem.
81 no registration certificates amounting to 1 million on page 13, amounting to 1,428,200. 81 clubs, no registration certificates. And your action taken says management wishes to state that all the club registration certificates have since been attached to the correct application forms. I've perused through the appendix 17. Only 4 clubs are attached out of 81. How would you explain that, CS?
Council Secretary.
Chair, that one, I can say those forms, all of them are available. We will avail them to the auditor. What we just thought, if we attach all these, the document would be impossible to handle. It would have been very big. So we thought of attaching samples, but those are available, and I think when Auditor General come to verify, they are there at our offices, Chair.
Thank you very much. Auditor General, you help us by verifying those, getting the facts about those, so that at the end of the day you help us on our business. Isoka Town Council, we want to appreciate you appearing before your committee, but we want to make mention to you that you still have a lot of work. Your coordinations are not very good, and you should endeavor to make sure that you you sit time and again, you sit and come up with the plan, the way you're going to execute these things. We will not really appreciate and accept the time frame where you have now the vehicle and you have 5 months before you could go and check on something, even if the internal auditor has all the energy to explain. We will not listen to him next time. We will allow him to see that what we are looking for is service delivery and not the explanations here. If he explains that, yes, we have executed, we have done this, and that's our comfort, that's what we want. You are partners in development, and we want each one of us to do what we are supposed to do. I've been giving your colleagues the Finance Public Management Act, Section 49, 50, and 51. They are very instructive on what should be done on financial misconduct or causing government to lose funds. The Act will give you the consequences. So we should acquaint ourselves with all these financial regulations so that at the end of the day, we are not found wanting. It's not our desire to make recommendations that are going to make your work very difficult, but it's our desire to make sure that what we get from our technocrats, because local authorities are the engine of development, and if the engine is not pulling the direction we want to go, then it becomes a problem. It's the desire of this government, the desire of His Excellency the President, to see to it that this money trickles and brings service and service delivery to the last person, to the ordinary person. And we depend upon you. So as we meet in the few months, I'm sure you will still come back, maybe in April. We want to see a change. We want to see things that are put in very order, and make sure that every document, every minute, you must carry it and be able to convince us, yes, that our house is in order. Go and put your house in order as you go back. And I wish you well. At this point, I wish to withdraw the immunity that was conferred on you and allow you to travel back to Isoka. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. You are free to leave.
Parliament TV, bringing Parliament closer to you.
Thank you so much for joining us on Parliament Radio and Parliament Television. My name is Paulson Tindovi, and we're back with the SDG and You program. Remember, this program is in partnership with the United Nations. Today, we look at a very interesting goal, and this is goal number 14, which is life below water. We should also note that Sustainable Development Goal number 14 focuses on life below water and aims to conserve and sustainably use the oceans, seas, lakes, rivers, and life below water. This goal is collectively addresses a range of issues related to marine conservation, sustainable fisheries, pollution prevention, and overall well-being of rivers, lakes, and seas, oceans. We should also make mention that this goal has 10 targets. We do have an interesting program because we do have the Honorable Minister of a very critical ministry, and this is the Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock, and this is Honorable Makozo Chikote. Honorable, thank you so much for joining us on Parliament Radio and Parliament Television. How's the Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock doing?
Thank you very much, Mr. Pandau. First of all, let me appreciate the Clerk of the National Assembly for giving me this opportunity on behalf of the Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock to share, the experiences and the effort that the ministry has done and how and what we have done in regard to realization of Sustainable Development Goal 14 and what is the levels that we have achieved so far and the best that we can do for the sector.
And also joining us on this platform this morning is Mr. Kasauta Mijelo, MP for Wengwa Parliamentary Constituency, and he is chairperson of the Committee on Agriculture, Lands and Natural Resources. Honorable, thank you so much, and it's good to have you for the second time on this platform. Is it third time now on this platform? How is the committee doing?
Good, thank you so much, President. The committee is doing very well, and I'm so pleased, humbled to have been invited again here, I think, for a third time. And let me also greet the viewers out there. Good morning to you all the people who are watching us from wherever they are. Otherwise, we are so pleased to come here and share ideas, and more especially that today we are joined with Minister of Fisheries and Livestock. I think the ministry which I also, where I chair the Committee on Agriculture. I think I belong under his ministry, and this is very important.
All right, like I mentioned in my preamble that this program is in partnership with the United Nations. We do have a representative from the United Nations, and we're talking about the Food and Agriculture Organization, and this is Mr. Francis Chimpungu, who is Zambia Agriculture Enterprise Development Project Facilitator. Thank you so much for joining us. And how's FAO doing?
FAO is doing fine. Thank you so much for inviting the United Nations to be part of this panel discussion.
Earlier on, I did talk about the goal that we are looking at. This is goal number 14, which focuses on life below water. So for starters, I'll move on to Mr. Chimpungu, who is a project facilitator from FOA. Maybe for starters, what is SDG 14 all about, life below water?
Thank you so much once again, Posent. I think in your preamble, you almost preempted what I should have said, because the SDG number 14 is basically about conserving ocean, marine, and water resources. The health and well-being of oceans is very critical to the existence of human beings. Therefore, if we tamper with the well-being and the health of oceans, we are tampering with over 3 billion people that depend on fish protein. So it is very, very important in that we are talking of conservation of ocean ecosystems, as well as preserving a very essential global resource, which is water.
Okay.
Thank you.
Honorable, very critical goal that we're looking at, goal number 14. How is the ministry faring in realizing this goal, and how is it applicable to our country, Zambia?
Thank you very much. Like we have stated that goal number 14, life below water, that's a very, very important goal for the Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock. And indeed, this is where the livelihood of our people depends on, especially where Zambia is concerned. It provides the livelihood of our people, and also it provides income of our people. But to specifically respond to how we are doing is that, first of all, we are doing very well in life below water. Though, as usual, there is room of improvement that we can still do better of what we have done. So, as a ministry, this is one of the critical and crucial elements in terms of the fisheries and livestock. Here, we are faced with a number of challenges that are surrounding the sector. First of all, is to address the conservation of our water and aquatic resources. And at the same time, these are the challenges that are induced by human elements. So these are the areas that the ministry has to apply themselves, that we find solutions, practical solutions that are sustainable to preserve our water bodies. Our natural water bodies need to be preserved, because it's not just about today, but about even the future generation. So this is where it becomes critical, because this is where the livelihood of the people depend on. So to me, as a ministry, like I have stated, that we are faring very well, because there are a number of initiatives that we have put in place. There are a number of regulatory framework that we have put in place that will conserve our natural water bodies, that will give sustainable activities for our resources. So this is what the ministry is trying to put in place. As a ministry, we are also trying to address, to review the Fisheries Act number 22 of 2011, to make sure that it matches with the climate changes. It addresses the challenges that I have just mentioned, to make sure that the steps that we are moving forward will be able to sustain and manage our water resources.
All right, I'll get back to you, Honorable, just to find out what measures you've put in place as a ministry, because you've mentioned a very critical component, issue to do with climate change, which is affecting all sectors of the economy. But let me move to the chairperson of a very critical committee here at National Assembly, and this is Honorable Kasauta Mijelo. You chair a very critical committee, but maybe the question that would want to find out, would you provide an overview of your committee's current initiatives that you've embarked, that will speak to goal number 14? What are some of the programs that you've lined up as a ministry that will speak to the realization of sustainable development goal number 14?
Good, thank you so much, President. As the Committee on Agriculture, Lands and Natural Resources, and the topic we are discussing today, which is on the table, this is the program of work which we are going to undertake next year. The first thing when we come to Parliament, this is the issue we are going to look at. We are going to look at, especially on fisheries, and also how people must also protect our water bodies which we have here in this country. You know, this topic of a life below water, it is very, very important because, you know, most of the people, especially from the northern Zambia, they depend entirely on a fish business. And a fish business is something which is almost spreading the entire country. And we know that there is, high shortage of fish. We don't have enough here in this country. And we depend on importation. And we want to make sure that almost each and everyone, including areas like Southern Province, Eastern Province, where they don't entirely depend on fishing, so that they can also join, the team, the enterprise, so that we can manage at least to reach at a certain level where we can manage to sustain our country, our population. And this issue percent is it's very critical. It's critical, very, very important. The reason is that if we don't practice good measures, a good practice, if we don't employ good practice on how to fish, definitely we are going to deplete all our fish, and especially already in Lake Meru, you've seen already that we don't have enough fish because of the bad, method of fishing. And we should make sure that we interact with the communities, we interact with be it small-scale farmers, with villagers, and including those people who wants to venture into a fish farming, so that they can understand and know the importance of fishing, and also how to preserve our fish so that our future generation, they can find fish. Otherwise, if we happen to be extremely very careless, we'll definitely deplete our fish. And also, the water which we have, we should not take advantages, of the water which we have at the moment. We know the water bodies which we have, the ocean, is covering about 70% of our planet. No. Yeah, 70% of our planet. It's water. So we must not feel like that water we have enough. We must make sure that we conserve it, and water is life.
All right.
And without water, we can definitely not survive as human beings.
Let's move to the Food Agriculture Organization. Mr. Chipangu, how is your organization contributing to achieving the targets of SDG 14, and particularly in the context of fisheries and aquaculture?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. Like you had mentioned earlier on, SDG number 14 has 10 targets, and FAO is a custodian or co-custodian of 7 of those targets. So one of the things that FAO does is to develop methodologies and build capacity in member countries to be able to monitor the implementation of those targets. So that is one of the supports that FAO provides to its member countries, of which Zambia is a part of. And then FAO also responds to largely responds to requests and needs of member states around issues to do with conservation of water resources. FAO also are involved in developing certain international instruments which member countries are able to use. You may be aware that FAO usually produces what is known as SOFIA, which is the state of wild fisheries and aquaculture. This is a flagship publication that FAO produces on an annual basis. This is